So, dear friends, I'm so happy to be sharing my topic for today, that is on the power of silence. I resonate very deeply with this topic, and it's been an integral part of my daily life. It has brought about huge shifts in my levels of consciousness, and I do realize its power, potential, and benefits to change the lives of people who get to know about these potentials. So today, I would like to share with you this knowledge that I have gained about the power of silence in my practice of silence as a part of my daily life. I feel that everyone can immerse in this silence consciously and bring about that shift in the collective human consciousness. Silence, friends, is a very high form of grace. And by practice, every individual can connect to it at their choice, just as much as they connect to the words and the noise. So, for a holistic experience, it is so important to be comfortable with the noise and the silence equally. So, let's dive today into this world of silence. Let's experience its soothing balm to the soul, and in the process, let all the diseases that arise from the noisy, talkative mind of ours come to the surface and be completely combusted in the light of awareness. In the process of silence, there is a lot that comes up from the deeper layers of our conscious, which has remained unattended, maybe for a very, very long time. It could be unfulfilled desires. It could be undealt with emotions. There could be so many conflicts within you which would start cropping up in practicing these moments of silence. But what is important is to transcend those particular pains of silence to actually begin to experience the power of it. The process, of course, requires a lot of diligence. It requires a lot of commitment. But yes, a start is what we are going to do today. A start with a very strong intention to actually start experiencing this new world, especially because it is so required in these moments when there is a lot of instability and insecurity that has been coming up ever since the start of the COVID period. The uses of silence have been very vast, and they have been underestimated by individuals many times who do not know about it in all its different capacities. So before we go on to taking the help of a Swadhyay book on the power of silence by Graham Turner, we would immerse in this moment of silence by connecting deep within ourselves to this dimension that we have actually arisen from. We arise from silence, and to silence do we return. So let us connect to this dimension deep within us to immerse and to experience its sweetness. So for some time, friends, let's close our eyes, and if we could have the music playing. You can just connect that dimension of silence that lies within your core. Visualize this as a huge vertical energy channel that runs from the top of your Sahasrara down to the base of your spine. Deep within this zone, imagine that your physical body is gradually entering into it, letting go of its physical shape and structure and entering this beautiful zone, which is free of the mind. That zone where there are no thoughts and no worries of the future. All that is experienced is the beauty of the now. And this zone is a dimension that does exist. Allow yourself to get deeper into that zone. It is possible to enter the zone because this dimension exists in all of us. Just make allowances and let go of all the thoughts that arise. Just keep sinking in deeper and deeper and deeper, allowing yourself to that space of emptiness and nothingness, dropping every thought that comes in the way of your getting comfortable with that zone of silence. Then yourself settling more comfortably into that zone. Deep breath, and you're getting more comfortable with this zone. Take another deep breath. You're getting extremely comfortable in this zone. You're not able to experience any connection with the outer world. You're getting more relaxed. You're getting more comfortable with who you really are at a deep level in this zone of silence. Allowances to let yourself free of all that is constraining, all that is binding, of all that is restricting. Just letting yourself be and connecting to your soul's own nature you really are. That free soul, the happy soul, the compassionate soul, the connected soul, the free soul. And you begin to witness yourself as this divine nature of yours becomes more and more alive to you in this zone. In this space, at all levels, without your knowing, your body cells begin to heal very deeply. Every disease that has arisen from the periphery of that finite mind, you begin to heal deeply, emotional, in this dimension as you connect to it more and more deeply, and your mind becomes free of all concerns of yesterday years and the coming days. That you can connect to at any time of the day at your own free will, knowing that it exists, accessible whenever you want. Be in this zone for another 2 minutes and enjoy this space of no thought, nobody, free of all images, free of all burdens to put up with expectations of the physical world around you. Just free yourself of all of it. Let every conditioning peel away. Let your personality peel away. Just be who you are in this moment of silence. Experience its power, experience its sweetness, and experience its freedom. Know that it is available to you. Anchor into any events that are coming in this moment, knowing that you can always use that anchor to reconnect to the zone of silence at any moment when you want to bring about a shift from an internal state of conflict to this state of deep stillness and silence. Slowing down of your breath. Your heartbeat slowing down on your face as you get lighter and lighter and lighter, realizing that it's so easy, it's so effortless. You're simply connecting to who you really are. Thank you, the divine presence that you have experienced in these sweet moments of silence. Long, deep breaths. We shall start connecting to the zone around us, the physical world, knowing that we can parallelly be in that zone of silence and yet function more beautifully in the physical world. So leaving yourself in that beautiful space and gradually coming back to awareness of the physical world. You may just rub your palms on your eyes and take a deep breath of relief. And you may do this thrice. And gradually you can open your eyes. So, dear friends, we just entered this beautiful zone, this beautiful realm that lies deep inside you. And you know now that it is possible for you to go there at your own free will. You can practice this whenever you wish, and practice will make you more and more at ease about entering this zone and healing yourself. And as you heal yourself, you will notice a great deal of self-compassion that arises, a great deal of awareness that arises in your life. You begin to embrace all that comes up. You begin to witness all that is there inside you with no resistance. And definitely, it gets you into a deeper and deeper level of consciousness. And that consciousness is what grows and makes you connect to people around you, increasing your soul circle, connecting you to your higher masters. Because silence truly is the highest form of grace. So now, friends, let us understand how Graham Turner, through the book on the power of silence and the secrets that lie within, give us an idea of how people have been using silence in different parts of the world. So I would now like to share this book. I would just do a screen sharing. So for today's Swadhyay session, this is a book which is full of a lot of substantial material by Graham Turner, as he has gone to different parts of the world interviewing people from different walks of life, all of who have shared their experiences and their connection with silence. So as I've already shared, my objective is to bring about an understanding of the power and potential of silence, which is very important for self-healing and self-growth once we learn to apply it in our lives. This potential of silence has been revered world over by people from different fields. He has interviewed a number of monastics, religious leaders, and holy men in the book who have applied silence in their lives. He has also interviewed music composers, theater actors, as well as psychotherapists who have used silence to great effect to ease the agonies of their clients. He's also come across prisoners and peace workers who have used silence to beautiful effect to bring about changes in their lives, as well as his visit about The monastery in Gethsemane in Kentucky tells us about his experience there with a whole lot of Americans who look forward to going there in huge numbers to experience that silence because it is not found in the regular American life. He speaks about Maharshi Mahesh Yogi's transcendental meditation in an American university in Fairfield, Iowa. And he also talks about an American Zen master who he came across in Paris, a self-confessed murderer in a Scottish prison. And all these people have been practicing silence. It's brought about huge miraculous gifts to all of them. They have all, in a very committed manner, devoted themselves to this practice of silence. So if you're to look at what the regular American thinks about silence, it is something which is very countercultural because the American society is very dynamic and it is very gregarious. So people there are not very comfortable with the concept of silence. They find it very strange. They find it very unattractive. It is something that they do not look forward to and causes them a lot of discomfort if in any social environment there is even the slightest amount of silence that is encountered. They quickly try to cover up with conversation and smart statements to make the situation easier in a social environment. They find it awkward, they find it embarrassing, very boring, and many times very oppressive as well. They think about it as a waste of time. So these concepts are slowly unraveled right through this book when they start delving into the different options that are available to them when they visit the monasteries and other places where they start experiencing a different aspect of that silence. Silence to them also seems like a moment when somebody has passed away, like a mourning stage. So the American looks at it in such a different manner. And this is what Turner has brought forth. They find it eerie. It's like a huge void. They are not able to deal with that void. There is so much that comes up in moments of silence, like fears, a lot of hidden traumas, anxieties, conflicts, and the person finds himself very vulnerable. In the book, he also interviews Father Richard Rohr, who is very well known for not more than 25 books of his, which are all bestsellers on Amazon. He has interviewed Father Rohr a number of times in this book and shared Father Rohr's explanations about silence. Father Rohr said that the people connected with it with a lot of meaningless. They could not connect with silence at all. It made no sense to them. And to make themselves more meaningful, they would fill it with smart statements, using smart words, and to cover up in the moment. At the psychological level, silence brings to you a lot of your unresolved issues from the subconscious level. Issues which are to do with your loneliness, your regrets in life, your resentments, your unfulfilled desires, unresolved emotions, unhealed moments of your past, and many times between a husband and a wife, it is also used as a tool where the wife calls for attention of the husband by keeping quiet. She requires him to listen to her, to give her that attention, and she uses it as a weapon. Similarly, the husband also many times uses it as a weapon with the wife when he calls for her attention. So there are different ways in which silence has been used world over. And then there are silences which people associate with very painful memories of their lives. especially those moments of war where they have encountered horrors. Well, I remember when I was reading this in Graham Turner's book, I also connected to those moments when my own grandparents, during the moment of partition, had seen murder in front of their eyes. My maternal grandmother had lost her voice because she saw bloodshed in front of her. That was too much of a shock for her to take, and that trauma remained hidden in silence. These silences keep growing within the individual till those moments in life when one is called upon to speak about it with another, and then when they come face to face and accept those deep traumas that have been there, true healing really takes place. Let's talk about silence in India now. We've spoken about it in the West. In India, silence lies in the genes of the Indians. It is an integral part of our culture. Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Jain, all of them follow practices of silence. And it is very much a revered part of the daily life of many people. There are people who take on moments of silence as Maunavrat. Maunavrat is moments when the individual could take up silence for maybe a day or a week or even a year. And you hear of people who also take up these moments of silence for many years. So the practice of silence is definitely very widely revered, and it is regarded as a road to wisdom in India. India offers an apparently endless range of techniques for achieving spiritual enlightenment, and all of these involve the practice of silence. So, silence is definitely very, very important in our spiritual journey and evolution. In silence, we reflect upon the truths we have come across in our lives. And without that, you will always be ruled by the mind which is reactive and which can ruin your peace. But when you practice silence, then you function from a different zone of response. You function from a zone of stillness, from a zone of peace, from a zone which is connected to your deepest self, your deepest levels of your consciousness. Respect for this silence is rooted in traditions that go back to thousands of years in India, and silence and its value are there in the Indian gene. When you engage yourself with real moments of silence, two things happen. One is you learn how to deal with events and situations in your life which create that noise and disquiet in you in a compassionate manner, coming from a zone of a deeper understanding of your spiritual divine self. Secondly, your spiritual development also begins to happen when you begin to connect to these moments of silence. You learn to let everything come up. You learn to embrace, you learn to accept all those conflicting emotions that are there inside you. And you are able to harmonize all the situations that arise in a beautiful manner. And when you're able to do that with all aspects of your life, that's where the true fruit of inner silence really lies. So it is a practice that all of us can implement consciously in our lives to bring about these huge shifts of peace, stillness, and our divine nature. Let's see what silence has to do with the Muslims. Silence for the Muslims was not merely saying nothing. It meant seeking in quiet for the deeper meanings of life. It is, said the Maulana, like traveling beyond space and time and trying to establish that contact with a higher reality. And this is true especially during the period of Ramadan, where it is not only a moment, where one thinks of in terms of food and eating and keeping away from it. No, the true meaning of it is actually to establish this connection with their higher reality. In India, the tradition of this silence goes back to the moments of the Hindu scriptures, the ancient Hindu scriptures, which are the Upanishads, meant sitting at the feet of the Guru. And the Vedas, both of which were written before the birth of the Christ, are the outcomes of these moments of silence when these rishis and wise men happened to do the scripting. And much of this wisdom was written down in the great books of these 4 Vedas. The author's friend Ravi Rao happens to share these experiences of the Indian scriptures with him. And there is a very beautiful explanation that Rao, an ordinary Hindu dentist who the author meets in India, explains about his view of silence. He says a silent body is like a well-kept home. It is clean, uncluttered, and airy. Then he talks about a silent mind. A silent mind is free of me and mine, likes and dislikes, of hates and hurts, of all kinds of attractions and aversions. So Rao speaks about silence in terms of a silent body, a silent mind. He speaks of a silent heart, a heart which is a flowered heart, which is of course full of compassion, connection with individuals, generosity, and a lot of giving and forgiveness. And lastly, he talks about a silent intellect that is free of all kinds of fixations and dogmas. And he talks about a combination of these 4 as the ideal place of silence, as the temple of silence. And he says, if that temple of silence, which involves all these 4 dimensions of silence, is not the kingdom of God, then what is the kingdom of God? The author also happens to come across Murari Babu, who is a holy man who is known for his innumerable kathas on the Ramayana that he has spread to huge masses of people over days on end below cloth tents. Murari Babu being a firm believer of silence and practicing it as a part of his life. He revered silence, and silence for him always remained a mystery as well. Murari Babu observed silence on Saturdays. He observed silence before the kathas that he conducted. The entire mornings went in silence, and even after the kathas got over, he observed silence. He observed silence for a full month in the month of August. But when people came to meet him, he did not stop them from meeting him. He listened to all that they had to say in his moments of silence, and what would result is all the people who would meet him would automatically get into that zone of silence, because silence itself is infectious. Anybody who experiences it, it is a level of consciousness. Anybody who comes within that zone of a deep level of consciousness automatically gets impacted. And when I read about all these experiences, I'm able to connect to my own experiences of people who are in my soul circle, who when they come in touch with me in my moments of silence, they just transform completely. They come up with stories which cause so much of discomfort to them. They contact me to share, to feel at ease. But when I quietly listen to them, being in my zone of silence, it eases them out and it gets them also into that same infectious zone of silence. So much is the power of that silence. When you kept silence for a long time, Murari Babu says, whatever has been happening in your mind has had a chance to settle down, and hence all the dirt gets washed away. But he added that you should never make an effort to do so, because if you make an effort to change anything, then you're actually moving out of that zone of silence. So silence actually has to be just a natural process of allowing yourself to go into that zone and embracing and witnessing all that is coming up. Murari Babu talks about his speaking for 3 to 4 hours in a zone which he felt was a silent zone. And when the author questioned him as to how he experienced that, he said that the Sufi mystics also had a similar experience. They would be speaking, but they would feel that their body was being used for the speech. It was not them who was speaking. So obviously, this was an experience that they all had of channeling, in my understanding. So he felt the same as those Sufi saints. But however, it has remained a mystery to him. And silence might seem like nothingness, but yet it is the most important thing in the world. I again want to share my own experience. I myself have been able to connect to my masters in my moments of silence, where I have experienced that I am not able to speak. Many times I'm not able to open my eyes or even walk. There is a takeover that happens of my consciousness by my divine masters. I have experienced this as the feminine divine taking over and my experiencing tremendous states of bliss. In those states of bliss, the people who have come close to me have got healed tremendously out of their life issues. And I have also experienced my mind being taken over in consciousness by the masculine divine. And at those moments, I turn out to be a powerful channel for therapy for my clients. So many times, what I plan to do as a part of my karmic therapy, whether it be my past life regression or rebirthing breathwork for my clients, results in something totally different when I'm able to connect to my masters in these deep moments of silence and connection. Silence has been used in the profession of music as well. And I would talk a little bit about that as explained by Turner in his book. The place of silence in music. The silence properly felt and understood by performers helps to take the audience into a deeper meaning of a work more than the notes do. And this is so important because in the Western culture, as we learned in the earlier chapter, Graham Turner says they are not able to connect to moments of silence, but they are very fond of music. So through music, they are able to connect to these moments of silence, and with this association, they are able to bring about moments of healing. And this is very precious to the music composers as well. The music composers connect to the audience through not only the sounds, but also the moments of silence. Sound, notes, silence, everything put together brings about a huge connection between the performers and the audience. And this has been revealed by the musicians who played at the Royal College of Music in London. They revered silence and they felt that music would be dead had there been no silence. There would only be continuous noise, and silence is actually the soul of the entire music. Many felt that it is much more than a mere absence of sound. As I just said, it is the soul and it gives it its life. One musician even said that a concert hall is one of the few places in the West where you can experience profound silence. And hence is, as I just mentioned, in the Western world, people really look forward to these concerts because they are able to connect to what is happening within themselves through these performances. The silence before the performance is an integral part of any music, and the piece starts before the first note itself. A great performer and a music composer will always know where to apply these moments of silence. An amateur musician will always struggle with it. He will count the number of minutes and the seconds. He gets restless because he is not able to deal with these moments of silence. But the professionals and the senior music composers, they all wait for that perfect moment to launch their music. They wait for the audience. When the audience is ready, they know that yes, this is the right time when I need to connect with my audience. And as he connects to the audience, there is a great deal of connection, great deal of association and healing, of course, that does happen. So complex and profound pieces of communication are going on all the time between the performers and the audience. In some pieces of music, if the musician does not take care of the silences between the chords, the music could feel completely flat. It could be a total disaster. And hence, control over that music and where to use the moments of silence along with the sound and the notes are a crucial part of music performances. These silences are very, very meaningful, more than words and notes. Hence, silence is very potent because by its very nature, it calls forth for a lot of reflection, which people otherwise are not very keen on doing. So I have already mentioned how the mediocre performers struggle with these moments of silence, and it often falls flat. So silence is a very critical constituent of music. It involves the audience, it keeps them engaged and convinced, and one needs to relish in the silence as much as in the sounds. So it's an important part of the profession of musicians. Silence is also used for a lot of Americans during their visits to monasteries to have an experience of being away from the noise and the conflict of their daily lives. One such place that Graham talks about is Gethsemane, which is a monastery in Kentucky. Everywhere in the monastery where he goes, he sees these signboards about continuously reminding the people to go into these moments of silence because it helps in reflection and prayer. And he comes across a whole lot of monks who look for these moments to connect to their deeper selves and to get messages, as well as he comes across a lot of Americans who go there to, again, as I mentioned, get relief from their daily life and come to terms with the conflicts within them. They all come hoping that they would get some kind of a relief from their anxiety and messages as how they could come out of it, messages from their divine. And as great as 160 retreaters happen to go to this particular monastery to get relief from their daily conflicts and suppressed emotions, people get a chance there to reassess their lives and to decide all that is important and all that needs to be resolved. They come to look at life in a different manner, which they have not experienced earlier. And sometimes it is, of course, a little heavy on them too. Another very, very important usage of silence is by psychotherapists. Psychotherapists talk about silence in a very reverent manner, and they are as grateful as any monk when it comes to applying these moments of silence with their clients. The author talks about a Jesuit priest who turned to be a therapist and used silence in the psychotherapy. These clients who come to the therapist carry a great deal of anxieties. They carry confusion, complexes, buried conflicts, traumas, unresolved relationship issues, failing marriages. And more than any pills, they are looking for those moments of silence and connection with the therapist. They're looking for those moments of silence between the words spoken by the therapist. They're looking at inspiration for coming out of these unresolved issues of theirs. And these moments of silence help to bring about a harmony in the two sides of the brain, the left brain and the right brain. They come close together in these moments of silence. And that is used very effectively in therapy. This two-way communication is very important because your left brain is the linear brain. It's the analytical and the thinking brain. And your right brain is the intuitive brain. It is what connects you to the higher dimensions. It's what connects you to the sixth sense and the other world. It's spatial, it's creative, it's wider. So in therapy, it fosters the communication between these two aspects of the brain. And the individual is able to unite with who they are. And as they unite and understand who they are able to connect to the therapist, to people around them. And again, huge healing happens through these moments of silence. The client must go through what is called these uncomfortable moments of silence, because only once they pass through the pains that they experience through this silence are they able to experience the power of it and the nectar of it. So it is an entire process where the psychotherapist is available for their clients to take them through this process and to free them completely of all that has remained unresolved since ages, probably. Silence also leads to a great variety of insights in the individual about their self-limiting and destructive behavior. They get in touch with the deeper layers of their conscience. They also come in touch with all their inner demons. And as they get in touch and acceptance of all that arises, there's a lot of healing that happens. There is self-acceptance that happens, self-love that happens, and it could be extremely empowering for the client. Many times when the client is not able to express in words what they are feeling, the psychotherapist also has to use their discretion in reading the facial and the body expressions of that client to find out what is happening in the client's mind to bring about powerful healing. Just as we understood how silence is used in music, so also silence is used in another aspect of life, that is in theater. It is very, very important. Just as much as music and notes were important, silence was important for the musician. Here too, just as much as words and speech are important, moments of pauses are also important in theater to convey what the performers need to convey to an audience and to build a connection with them. The performers involve the audience in this journey and take them along when they use these moments of silence to good effect. And if the silence is missing, then many times the audience does not respond at deep levels. So silence tells you a lot about the character that is being played and helps in the healing of the individual. Again, Graham speaks about a very powerful experience of his where he visits the Maharshi Mahesh Yogi's University of Management in Fairfield, Iowa. And this is the university where they practice transcendental meditation. Silence is a very, very important part of this university, and it is compulsory for the students to complete a development consciousness course here. And as a part of this course, they have to undergo at least 70 group meditations for each semester till they come out to be qualified for the next semester. This meditation makes a promise for the individual to flourish in different aspects of their life, and through this meditation, this silence meditation of transcendental meditation, the individual experiences a state of consciousness which is beyond the sleeping, dreaming, and the waking state. It is a state where the person goes to the deepest and best inner self. They experience tremendous bliss and huge changes in their life take place. This particular place where transcendental meditation is practiced, the focus of the people practicing don't do it primarily for spiritual reasons alone. They do it to have more control of their daily life and to experience better sleep, to become emotionally much calmer, and to come to terms with their daily life. There are popular musicians like the Beatles who practice transcendental meditation, which was very popular among them. And the author speaks about the construction of these beautiful homes where people practice transcendental meditation, and they were built on the principles of the Vedic architecture. All these homes had a Brahmasthan. The Brahmasthan was a still center where light from the roof of the house came and gathered in the center of the room floor. These were the silent centers of the house, and they all invoked a sense of deep silence and connection among the inmates of the home. So many people who happened to build their houses according to this Vedic architecture were able to experience deep harmony and connection in these homes of theirs. They really enjoyed living in these new homes. So transcendental meditation, where people experience these moments of silence, has helped a huge number of people all over the world, to a greater or lesser degree, to go into these moments of relaxation. And in Fairfield in Iowa, you will get to know a number of them who have connected very deeply to this experience. And the students even engage in higher programs of transcendental meditation called the Siddhi programs, because they have experienced so much of power of this silence through TM. They speak of it as an ocean of untapped potentiality in which one can discover a deep level of new calm and creativity. And lastly, we get to know about Graham's interaction and viewpoints with Father Richard Rohr and what he said about silence. Rohr said that he was not sure if you could have an experience of being close to God without silence, because it is such an important experience. And he spoke of silence as not being just the ruling out of auditory noise, but of getting very deeply involved in letting go of many things. Letting go of your own agenda, of your own attachments to your ego, and to the images that you had built around yourself. Only when one would let go of all of these, he felt that the person was truly renouncing himself, and he would be able to meet the challenges of the world, because he would experience these deep moments of silence as he lets go of all those roles and titles that he had actually held on to. and got attached to. So taking these attachments too seriously would come in the way, and letting go of all these attachments was very important to experience the core of silence. Rohr also spoke about being present to the silence is very important at the head and the heart level, as well as at the body level, because at all these levels, the individual was carrying a lot of hurts. So it was important to be vulnerable and to let all these surface and get released to experience the deeper moments of silence. To be flexible and to let ourselves loose and not be in charge would help to experience again these deeper moments of silence, where we would not look at things only from our point of view, but we would look at things from the other's point of view or from the eyes of God. So these were very, very important methods by which Rohr felt that people could connect to moments of silence. He felt it's a sure shot method of recognizing your true self and healing yourself. And of course, as you heal yourself, you get to understand who you are at your core, and you begin to experience those moments of joy, love, silence. And lastly, as I have been practicing silence, which I even shared when I gave a little bit of my introduction, I don't speak more than 2 hours out of 24 hours in a day, because I am really, truly basking in these moments of silence and nothingness. There are moments of very deep levels of consciousness. There is so much of joy, so much of bliss. It has changed my life so much. My connections have become so large, so expansive. The soul circle has expanded so much. And there's so much manifestation that happens on its own. It is purely because of remaining connected to these moments of deep silence. So my observations, it makes one more aware of your internal conflicts, thoughts, feelings, inadequacies, sadness, anger, confusion, repressed desires, and so much more. So for people who are not being able to find solutions, who want to go onto a quicker road to free themselves of all these issues, must learn to observe silence. Silence makes us very compassionate to ourselves, because we are connecting to our divine nature. We are connecting to who we really are. So we begin to respond to ourselves with love, with care, understanding, kindness, and in a non-judgmental manner. Because as we are getting free of the mind, obviously the judgments also crumble away. We just embrace, we just accept. And that is what the bedrock of spirituality is. The bedrock of spirituality lies in deep acceptance of who you are and whatever is happening inside you. So these above 2 points together lead to our overall well-being at all levels: mental, emotional, physical, and of course spiritual. It helps to improve our decision-making skills. It gives us deep mental clarity and makes us more intuitive. It connects us to the sixth sense. We know well before what is good for us and what needs to be avoided. It also improves our emotional stability. Our listening abilities improve when we are silent. We are able to listen to what happens within us. We are able to listen to what is happening to the other who speaks to us. And this in turn enhances our conversations. It enhances our connections with people. It enhances our connections with the universe at large. Silence, when practiced, helps to conserve a lot of energy which can otherwise be lost in an overactive thinking mind. It connects us to who we really are, deep within ourselves, at the soul level, realizing our divine nature. It increases our levels of creativity. Silence gives us the answers that you might have been seeking externally. But as you delve into these moments of silence, all these answers start coming forth. And as I mentioned earlier, it makes manifestation a very easy process. It connects you to divine consciousness, brings about huge energy shifts in you, and you become a powerful channel to bring about those energy shifts in others. In fact, there are moments when I actually conduct sessions called the silence transfer sessions, where people do not want to speak. They look for an immediate shift to a level of peace and stillness, deep level of peace and stillness within. And in those moments, when I have connected to those moments of silence, I just float a couple of e-ads telling people that they're open to connecting with me to experience this immediate shift and relief from the noise within. And it gives you great inner power. Silence keeps you in a beautiful zone beyond the physical, connecting you to your energy being. So friends, silence is something which gives you the best answers, says the Dalai Lama. And these are some quotes which are very popular on silence and very close to my heart, which I felt like sharing. Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. And of course, very close to my heart is Sri Ramana Maharishi. I have experienced great moments of silence simply by looking at his picture and connecting to his consciousness. So the session would be incomplete, although I spoke about a different book, if I did not express my gratitude of these deep moments of silence that I have experienced with Sri Ramana Maharishi. The Ramana Maharishi says, silence is a unique language ever surging in the heart. It is the state of grace. And Ramana Maharishi explains the importance of silence. He says, it is a state which transcends speech and thought. It is the state of Mauna. It is meditation without any mental activity. And it is so beautiful where he says that silence is ever speaking. It is a perennial flow of language. It is uninterrupted by speaking. Or words actually obstruct this mute language. Lectures may entertain individuals for hours without improving them, but silence, on the other hand, is permanent and benefits the whole of humanity. Silence is unceasing eloquence, and it is the best language. Another very beautiful quote by Ramana Maharishi ji. He says, take refuge in silence. You can be here or there or anywhere. Fixed in silence, established in the inner eye, you can be as you are. The world will never perturb you if you are well founded upon the tranquility that lies within you. So gather your thoughts within, find out the thought center and discover your self-equipoise. In storm and in turmoil, be calm and be silent. Watch the events around you like a witness, and the world is a drama. Be a witness, be interned, and be introspective. Silence is truth, it is bliss, it is peace. Silence is the self. And when one remains without thinking, one understands another by means of the universal language of silence. And this is another very beautiful input, where silence is of four kinds, says Ramana Maharishi. It is the silence of speech, the silence of the eye, silence of the ear, and silence of the mind. And only the last, that is the silence of the mind, is pure silence. And that is the most important. So do not speak unless it improves on silence. I had not planned to speak too much, and when Sai Krishna ji actually approached me and asked me, what topic that you want to speak on? I said silence. And then I asked him how many hours. He said, ma'am, 2 hours. I was, oh my God, I'm talking about a subject where I'm supposed to speak the least. But yes, as I got to so much of matter that people have actually explored through their books, I got an opportunity to present what is thought about silence in different parts of the world. And yes, lastly, silence is a source of great strength by the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. So thank you so much, friends, for giving me this opportunity to share about silence and its value in our life. Hopefully, you would have connected to these values and realized its potential. And of course, there are a whole lot of meditators in PSSM who are anyway connected to moments of silence through their meditation. But anyhow, even when we are not meditating, even when we are moving around and doing our daily activities, we can still remain connected to that zone of silence in a state of awarenessness. Just being mindful and being aware could keep us in that connected zone. So friends, let's be conscious, because it's a very beautiful zone. It's a zone which is very, very sweet, zone that gives you all the answers. It's a no conflict zone, a very, very divine zone. So let's stay in that awareness and keep connecting to that zone and live in the richness of it.